Namaskar. The Conference of Parties 21, or the Paris Climate Conference as it's known, for the first time in over 20 years of UN negotiations, aims to achieve a legally binding and universal agreement on climate with the aim of keeping global warming below 2 degrees centigrade. In this respect, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has called out to over 100 solar-rich countries, those are in the tropics, to join the International Solar Alliance to develop clean and affordable solar energy.
The government's aim of using cheap solar energy to connect Indian citizens who are currently without access to the electricity grid in remote and rural areas now taken to the global platform. Prime Minister Narendra Modi launching an international solar alliance of over 120 countries at the Paris COP21 climate summit.
There is already a revolution in solar energy. Technology is evolving, costs are coming down, and grid connectivity is improving. It is making the dream of universal access to clean energy become more real. India has a capacity of 4 gigawatt, and we have set a target of adding 100 gigawatt of solar power by 2022.
The Solar Alliance is the new body which has invited all countries located fully or partly between the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn to join, while seeking to share collective ambitions to reduce the cost of finance and technology that is needed to deploy solar power widely. The Alliance's launch resolution also states that generation and storage technologies would be adapted to the individual countries' needs. The Alliance would pursue cooperation in training, building institutions, regulatory issues, common standards, and investment, including joint ventures.
The agreement that we seek in Paris will be forged by governments. The ambitious targets that we've set for ourselves are going to be reached in large part by the efforts of our scientists, our businesses, our workers, our investors. And that's why the private sector, from inventors to investors, will have a seat at the table throughout this process.
With fossil fuels putting the planet in peril, hopes for future prosperity in the developing world now rest on bold initiatives such as this. As the Prime Minister said, Solar Alliance will be the sunrise of new hope, not just for clean energy, but for villages and homes still in darkness, for mornings and evenings filled with a clear view of the glory of the sun. Government is investing an initial $30 million in setting up the Alliance's headquarters in India. The eventual goal is to raise $400 million from membership fee and international agencies. The aim of the International Solar Alliance is to boost solar throughout the world by combining efforts. Bureau Report, DD News.
Well, and to discuss this unprecedented International Solar Alliance, joining us in the studio are Dr. Shrikanta K. Panigrahi, who's the Director General of Carbon Minus. Thank you very much for being with us. Pallav Bagla, Senior Science Journalist, and Dr. Bhaskar Balakrishnan, former Ambassador of India. We'll start with you, Pallav Bagla. You know, where is this alliance coming from? Let's try and put it into context, because activists will keep saying that, you know, will they take tough positions, often unreasonable positions against developing countries, big developing countries like India. And, well, the Prime Minister did mention in his speech, you know, that there should be some carbon space to grow. Talked about natural carbon justice. How important is that?
See, this carbon alliance is very good for India because it suits India when you're ramping up your generation power from very small to 100 gigawatts. And if you have an alliance where you're able to access technologies and also market technologies. So all of this will probably feed into what Prime Minister has been talking about, the Make in India program.
Okay.
Because if it feeds into that, and you have large capacities which can be made in India,
right,
and then sold outside as well, it suits both India and other countries. And most of the developed countries have joined in the alliance.
Sure.
The headquarters will be definitely India, that has been
That's
stated.
right.
India itself is looking for many breakthroughs in solar energy. Even now, the efficiency of a solar cell hinges around 20%. It needs to go up higher.
Okay.
End of the day, solar will succeed when there is success in storage. Right now, the bottleneck is batteries. Till the battery technology, there is a breakthrough,
Okay.
Solar will remain a little bit of a back boy.
Dr. Panigrahi, just put this into context for us once again. Now India is a sun-bathed country, and this is an alliance of countries within the tropics where we're going to get a lot of sunshine. And India itself is talking about a capacity of 100 gigawatts by 2020. And that is, 2022, a massive scale up if we talk about. And then when we talk about all the countries in this, within the tropics, that can be quite achievable in terms of scaling up and then sharing technology, sharing resources, etc.
Yes. Prime Minister, Indian Prime Minister took a great gesture, and we must appreciate his great leadership. And India showed the path to the world. These countries in the both side of topics, the topic of Cancer and Capricorn, they are existing since the creation, but nobody have thought to make an alliance and build their own capacities, extend the mutual friendship and sharing of technology, finance and knowledge in a common platform, and use this technology for mutually inclusive benefit. It will not only help us to meet the energy requirement, but also help to eradicate poverty. As you told in your previous question, Prime Minister has also indicated that carbon space, India has not got its right over its carbon space so far.
Yes.
The developed countries has exceeded their rights on carbon space. And this is high time that the large of these countries, those who are in this belt, say it Asia, Latin America or Africa, they are largely poor, although they are blessed with abundant of sunshine. So this is the high time to capitalize that, and with the influx of right technology, finance, and rest and proper business models.
Dr. Balakrishnan, finance, the Prime Minister said India will put down $30 million. India's commitment, setting up the headquarters here in Gurgaon, and they are looking at $400 million through membership, and the 120 countries will get on board. How is this going to go about? I mean, how are we going to get this all happening?
Well, this will enable the alliance to start functioning.
Yes.
But basically, time is on our side, because solar power, the cost was some years ago something like 17 rupees a unit, was quite high. And this year it has almost touched below 5 rupees a unit. Levelized power tariff. So this is becoming competitive with other sources of generation. So as time goes on, the cost of solar cells, the efficiency will go up, the storage technology. Yes, today itself we have a report from France that they have created a sodium ion battery, which is much cheaper than a lithium ion battery and could actually revolutionize the entire solar industry. So technology is moving very, very fast in this field, and it's moving in the direction of lower cost of solar power and better storage systems. So
and will it be shared easily between the alliance members? And
well, the market for this country like India, for example, even if we are allowed to consume as much as carbon, we have a problem. We don't have enough fossil fuels. We will have to import oil and gas in large quantities, which we can't afford. So even if even if we allowed carbon space, we can't survive without solar and renewables. So solar power is actually essential for our survival, and we are lucky that the technology and the costs are helping us. Now, as far as the Solar Alliance is concerned, it's encouraging. 121 countries have come on board. The response from Africa is very good. 51 countries have joined. The response from the Arab Gulf states is a bit disappointing. They don't seem to be as enthusiastic, but perhaps that will change. And the fact that countries like France and some developed countries which have the technology, they are also on board, is a good sign. The problem with the US is it's still saying that everything is in the private sector. And this means the government is not really pushing the private sector to participate in this alliance, unlike France and European countries.
So it's price elastic.
So that is the problem. But since we have countries like France and others in this, we will have different sources of technology to access.
Mr. Bagla, well, prices are coming down, as Dr. Balakrishnan was saying. Costs of solar are coming down. But when are we going to achieve that sort of grid parity that we're talking about, which would be equivalent, that solar would become a choice, natural choice, because it costs the same as, you would get on the grid?
Well, it's going to take a long time to happen. It's not something which is going to happen overnight. Even the cost which Ambassador spoke about of 5 rupees, we have to wait and watch whether the companies which have bid are really able to make those power plants at that price. We see, in my opinion, a very similar situation happened when the 2G, 3G auctions happened. The pricing went sky high in 3G, and look what happened. It has not rolled out properly.
Okay.
So when you bring the prices down and you make it extremely competitive for the companies, they are bidding and getting the contracts. Now we'll have to wait and watch how many of those contracts actually get implemented fully. Ideally, everything should get implemented, because in the clause there is, if one fails, then the next bidder automatically gets it. This is what the Bureau of Energy and Efficiency told me. So if that is the case, then we should be able to see soon. But the big breakthrough in solar really is needed in battery and storage technology.
Sure.
And that breakthrough is far away.
Okay. Mr. Panigrahi, well, I mean, we have to talk about electrifying the whole country, providing electricity to all unconnected villages. This is the way ahead, isn't it?
Yes.
Solar, because it actually, small solar, rooftop solar, all these are the solutions that are quite achievable.
24/7.
Yes.
Yes, that is one of our greatest, not only ambition, but the target. And Minister Piyush Goyal has already declared that by 2017, India should able to achieve this. Okay. And for that, government is going to have an aggressive plan.
Yes.
And solar energy is the only energy and the technology which will make it possible, because in the remote areas and the rural areas where the grid cannot reach, the off-grid solar system can play a huge role. Solar is a technology which can be utilized in grid as well as in off-grid.
Yes.
And looking into the situation and cost, taking these two factors into consideration. In addition,
right,
there are wind hybrid solar technologies are available.
Okay.
And I would also like to mention that in recent bidding in Telangana, the cost quoted is 4 rupees 62 paisa per unit,
okay,
which is much lower than the thermal power,
okay,
of 5 rupees.
So
it seems that that time is not very far. And
yes,
so it depends on upscaling and improvement in technology and R&D.
Okay.
And as Dr. Bhaskar mentioned that the availability of storage technology has improved.
Okay.
So that will also further help to enhance the capacity of solar energy.
Right, Dr. Bhaskar Balakrishnan, India's leadership in this alliance. Some analysts say this is an unprecedented alliance, and we have lots of 120 plus countries on board. And India's leadership role, India becoming the natural leader in this alliance. How important is that from the diplomatic point of view?
It's important because India is at the center of this whole climate change effort, because we are at the threshold of rapid economic growth. And if we follow the classical pattern of growth, it will become difficult to fight climate change. So everybody is interested in seeing that India succeeds in a low carbon path to rapid development. And breakthrough in solar energy could provide the energy for that with very low emissions. If we go by nuclear power, then of course that's also possible, but that involves very heavy costs. And there are other issues related to nuclear power.
Right.
So I think there is a great international interest in India in this alliance as a whole succeeding.
Sure.
A lot of Africa is also interested, because for them also it's importing of fossil fuels is going to be a drain on the economy.
Right.
There are a lot of issues where, apart from the technology and the cost, there are regulatory issues. There are issues of how do you pay for the power, how do you take the power into the grid, how do you integrate it. But I think even there we have made a lot of progress. Some states like Delhi and UP, where I live, they already have issued a notification for rooftop solar in which they will take the power at 9 rupees a unit.
Okay.
And so that's already become quite worthwhile for people in UP to install solar power units.
Right. You want to comment on that,
Yes,
Dr. Pangari?
Yes, India was commended by international community because India delayed in expressing its INDC. That is intended nationally determined contributions. Many of the countries told that India is not proactive but reactive, and always raises up the issues of developed nations. But that is not true. The minister has already told that we are not responsible for the region, but we are there for the solution.
Right, I know. And our INDCs, we have given what, 33 to 35% of efficiency will be improved by 2030, and our emissions will be cut down from 2005 levels by 33 to 35%.
In this context, the others also say that it is not as aggressive as Chinese, and 60 to 65% China is committed. So whatever that may be, the Indian leadership for bringing Solar Alliance creates a huge credibility in the favor of India, that India is not reactive, India is proactive.
Mr. Bagla, you know, Mr. Piyush Goyal was talking about canal top solar plants, where he gave some examples about how this is being really successful. He said the canals being covered with solar panels, they not only provide you with electricity, they also save the evaporation of the water, and that itself provides you with excess water as well. So, I mean, this is certainly quite a unique solution, isn't it, for India?
Certainly. See, we've seen it happening in the Sardar Sarovar project, when one of the canals in Gujarat, when Narendra Modi was the Chief Minister of Gujarat, he implemented it there, and I believe it's running very successfully. So models like that will have to be implemented on a very large scale.
Yes.
And then you have to bring up issues of ownership.
Sure.
Who owns what land? How do you put it up? Because solar needs a lot of space to put up.
Right.
But there's one more point on solar which we need to consider. Solar is not the ultimate panacea.
So what do you mean?
Sun is there for half a day.
Okay.
Half a day, the sun is not there.
Yes.
If you have a grid fully running on solar, what do you tell your population? The sun has gone down, we can't give you power. Go back to blackouts and brownouts.
So you talk again about storage.
But we need to have an mix of energy which is very suitable for our own country, in which, as Ambassador mentioned, nuclear has a very big role to play. As base power, nuclear in times to come. Right now, coal is the king. For the next 40 years, undoubtedly coal is the king. Whether we like it or not, carbon dioxide may be the biggest villain, but for India, coal is the king. And then nuclear has to take over for base load power. Otherwise, what do you do at night? And during the day, yes, solar will obviously provide a solution.
Dr. Balakrishnan, would you concur with that? Because, well, I mean, the whole idea is to get away from coal and all these dirty fuels, or one would say, things that are not quite good for the environment.
Well, at present, I would say about almost 70% of our power comes from coal.
Right.
But unfortunately,
but if we continue to build so many thermal plants, and then coal is also
the problem is we don't have high quality coal in enough quantity. So we can't push that very far. We'll have to import coal from places like Australia and so on. And even transporting coal across long distances within the country, it puts a lot of strain on our transportation network. So coal, I think coal has reached its end of its ascendancy as far as we are concerned. We are now on the threshold of a renewable energy revolution in India. Now, solar energy, everybody says high cost, but if you look at the cost of transmission and distribution network and work out the cost of providing power to an isolated village, I'm pretty sure solar power will be competitive.
The cost is, in fact, what Mr. Piyush Goyal also did talk about, is that you have to have affordable capital up front, which is what the problem is, apparently. Now, how does one try and sort that problem out? Will the alliance help in this?
No.
And also, because of what the developed world has already done in terms of negotiations, they have developed and they have polluted the atmosphere, and it's time that they have the technology and they should provide it.
Well, that's okay. We'll come to that. But as far as the financing of solar power projects are concerned, this will rest on the viability of the project. If the power is competitive and the return on investment is satisfactory, then this will become a viable proposition. That's happened in wind energy. People are investing in wind energy because it's profitable. Wind energy is available round the clock. It's night as well as day. Now, so solar power will move the same way. The moment it becomes profitable and there is a good return, it will attract investment. Government can provide tax incentives, accelerated depreciation and things like that.
Sure.
And if they introduce a carbon tax, which today there's talk in Paris, World Bank, IMF and others are talking in terms of a carbon tax. They're saying that, look, I mean, if you produce power or do any activity which produces carbon dioxide, well, you should pay for it. Now, if a carbon tax comes in, that will further stimulate the growth of solar energy.
Right. And as far as the developed world, Mr. Panigrahi, paying for this or this technology transfer, can it be possible that, you know, I mean, this has been one of the standpoints of negotiations in climate discussions, that, you know, because there is a legacy that the developed world has developed at the cost of polluting the atmosphere, it's time to pay back.
Yes, technology transfer and IPR is very big issues, and one of the key bottlenecks which is stopping the technology to flow in. Technology transfer is not happening because of IPR, because of...
And also we heard Mr. Obama there saying that the private sector will drive this, which means that?
That is what the developed world is keep telling for years, but it is not happening. In technology front, many of the technologies which developing countries have aspired are still in the list of aspiration, and we are not able to negotiate the right terms and conditions in terms to make it happen.
But why can't we develop our own unique technologies? Isn't it possible?
Yes, we can.
Mr. Bagla, yes.
See, that is the key point. We were in the 70s leaders in solar energy. The National Physical Laboratory in Delhi was a leader in the R&D of solar technology. Then we slowly pinched it and killed it. Now again we want to revive it. Now we have a new Solar Energy Institute in Gurgaon. They are trying to do more and more R&D. But the real breakthroughs have to happen in research institutions.
Right.
And that will happen only slowly. The efficiency and storage. Once those two big breakthroughs happen, solar is going to be very successful.
I will add, there is an international organization called IRENA. IRENA is one of the UN bodies which is working dedicatedly for technology transfer in renewable energy sector, including solar.
Sure.
It is based in Dubai. It is one of the international organizations. So IRENA has already expressed interest to join Indian drive, that is International Solar Alliance. And World Bank, UNEP, UNDP, all these international organizations will certainly be a part of this alliance.
Right.
And these are all the organizations together will work out the right terms and conditions for technology transfer and finance.
We've run short of time. Final words from you, Dr. Balakrishna. Where is this alliance going? 15 years from now, let's say 2030, by the time we talk about these targets?
Well, we have to see now which are the members, which are the countries which have come on board, particularly which are the advanced countries who have remained outside this alliance. We had the experience of the ICGEB, International Center for Genetic Engineering and Biotechnology, which was an attempt to access biotechnology. That did not succeed to its fullest extent because a number of countries were advanced in the field, they stayed out, saying that the private sector is what should do this, not the governments. So the Solar Alliance has kicked off to a good start. We have to see if we've got all the major technology powers into this alliance.
Okay.
If we have some of them out, we should try and get them in.
Right. We still get words from you as well, Mr. Bagla. You know, we've talked about energy efficiency as well, and in our INDCs, there's the talk of what we have about 1 million SMEs which were going to produce zero defect, zero effect goods. How important is this?
That's very much required.
Yes.
Zero defect, zero effect. But you look at some of the
No, but
goods
this
we
is all
produce.
part of the-
but that,
of the game,
see, that
of the
has to be
plan.
that has to be part of our DNA, that we produce everything with zero defect and zero effect as well. We don't do that, which is why we see such high levels of pollution.
But the focus has changed now.
in Delhi or in other big cities. So if you have to have a focus of producing better with higher efficiency and lesser use of energy, all of these come into play. And the Prime Minister is saying the right things. But the policy initiatives have to flow down to the ground level, and people who implement it have to take it to heart and do it. And it has to be done at a cost-effective basis.
Mr. Panigrahi, in terms of energy efficiency, we also need to move away from fossil fuels we're talking about, but also better quality of fuel in terms of what Bharat Stage 4, Bharat Stage 5, Bharat Stage 6.
Yes,
All this is part of the plan.
Yes, we need to enhance the vehicular standards that we are already doing it. And the most spectacular thing that we have already done is distribution of 3 crore LED bulbs by EESL, the subsidiary of BEE.
Right.
This is distributed largely in 3 states, and many more is coming up. And this is subsidized partly by the government. Public finance has a huge role in mitigating carbon emissions.
Right. We leave it there. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us here on Late Edition. Well, to highlight the importance of solar energy, Prime Minister Modi said that in India's tradition, the sun is the source of all forms of energy. And he quoted the Rig Veda to say that the sun god is the soul of all beings, moving and non-moving, and said that many in India begin their day with a prayer to the sun. Well, the Prime Minister's emphasis was that when the energy sources and excesses of our industrial age have put our planet in peril, the world must turn to the sun to power our future. Thanks very much for watching. Namaskar.